Hello and welcome back to another episode of Run Till You're Done. Tonight's guest, I had the pleasure of racing against him, I think 3 years ago in Northern Ireland when I took part as part of the Scotland team, and our guest was there and he blew everybody away with what he did. I hold my hands up, I had not a clue at the time what I was doing, so it was a learning process, not progress. But nowadays, it's a case of, I always say that never think that you're the best at something because there's always somebody better. And Keith is one person that I look at that I'm good at backyards. I know that I am. Keith's done more than me. So tonight we're going to drill him down to see what's his secrets.
Welcome to the show, Keith. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me to come on. I'm delighted to chat to you about all things running.
So the first question that we ask every single guest is, how did you first get into running?
So I got into running with my daughter, pushing her in a running chair in 2016. So Alana had cerebral palsy, so she was wheelchair bound. She couldn't talk. She was peg fed. She had spastic quadriplegic cerebral palsy. So we started running to aim for Dublin City Marathon in 2017, and we were raising money for a wheelchair accessible bus for a respite care home that Alana attended. So we ran Dublin City Marathon in 2017, raising over €70,000, getting enough money for the bus. But then about 6 weeks after that, Alana passed away suddenly at home. So that's how I got into doing ultra running. Then it was sort of to move on to deal with the death of my daughter, basically. And it helped me to a point. So it just got me out. It got me thinking of feeling my thoughts, and basically going through every emotion when you're out running out in the roads on your own. And then it just got me into doing ultra running, ultra marathons, backyard ultra. And so when you start to realize that what saved your life you're actually good at, and then you can progress within that, which is it sort of helps too. Like,
so you obviously use that as a tool to, I would say, get over grief. I'm not sure that you could ever say you get over it, but deal with it. Do you think it's helped you deal with other parts of other, I don't know what, but
yeah,
other
well,
things?
I think doing ultra marathons, I always felt that the emotional pain I was feeling, I was never going to feel that physically, and that's probably how I was able to push myself so hard and so far. I think it has helped, because when you're spending that amount of time out training and running on your own, no headphones, out in a field in the pitch black, all hours in the morning, it builds up that mental resilience that you need to try and navigate life through being a bereaved parent.
And was Dublin Marathon the first event that you entered running wise?
Yes, but so that was supposed to be my first marathon, but what I had to do was, to build the confidence to do a marathon, I ran a low-key marathon down the country in Ireland, just to make sure I could run it on my own first before I took on to push a chair. And I ended up winning that. I ended up coming first in that as well, just by sheer chance. So I suppose doing that sort of gave me a lot of confidence going in to do Dublin City Marathon,
There's something that when my daughter was small, used to push her in the chair when I'm running, and something that I noticed was I had it in my mind that you were almost leaning on the chair, and that would take some of the weight, and it would be easier. It is not. You're pushing it.
Yeah, I got that too as well. People would say, "Oh, sure, it's easier for you because you can lean on the chair." If you lean on the chair will just go.
Yeah.
It's very back heavy, so if you push it down, it will just drop to the floor. Running on the flats, you could run beside the chair with one arm. There's a picture of me just running beside it, waving to everybody with one arm. Going downhill, you just had to make sure you didn't let go of the chair. But going uphill is where all the pressure was. Anybody not pushing the chair, you can use your hands to propel yourself forward. Pushing the chair, you can't. You literally have your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves they're taking all the pressure. I remember the race 3 weeks before Dublin City Marathon. I went out too fast, obviously, loads full of confidence, went out too fast, and it was the last 6K. It's like every hill in that race was in the last 6K, and I struggled to the end. I just delighted to see the finish line within that one. But it sort of, it takes you back then to go, right, you need to pace yourself properly when it comes to doing Dublin, and not get carried away with yourself. So it was a good learning curve as well. But yeah, you're pushing, I think it was worked out around 40 kilos is what you were pushing with the chair with Alana in it. Like Alana was 8 years of age when we done it. So yeah, she's about 40 kilos and all was what you're pushing.
And that was an incredible amount of money that you raised for that to get that bus. Did you find that extra pressure on top of the training to do well because you were running for the charity?
Yeah, so I wanted to get all the money raised before we done Dublin. And coming up to it, we were I think we were about 25,000 away from it. And we actually got an anonymous donation of 20,000. Just came in the post. It was unreal, like. But that feeling, I actually felt that feeling there, that emotion of getting that, hitting that target, going in to run the race, going into Dublin, it was that extra, like, this is what we've done, this is what we've created. The support we used to get at races, the support we got in Dublin was absolutely amazing. Like, it was something I've never felt before. And the thing about it was that everyone knew who Alana was, and that was the whole thing about this, was that we get Alana's name out there and everyone knew her, and she had a smile and everyone used to call her name, and it was absolutely amazing. Like,
do you still get recognised for that? If you do if you did Dublin Marathon now, would you think that you'd get recognised for what you'd done back there, or nobody? It's just you. Nobody knows who you are anymore.
So in 2018, we were awarded the Lord Mayor's Medal for going back to run Dublin in Alana's memory. So it's given to somebody that's running the marathon for a special reason or special cause. And they also retired Alana's number from Dublin City Marathon. And what happens is then everyone remembers her at mile 8. So we'd always put a picture of her when we're heading in to do the marathon. Like, we'd pull up at mile 8, so it's on the way in, and we'd put a picture of Alana at that mile marker. So when people are coming in, they come in the gate of the Phoenix Park, and the mile marker's on the right hand side, and people salute or wave or bless themselves, whatever. Like, so yeah, an awful lot of people remember Alana in Dublin every year, which is, again, it's very heartwarming.
That's an incredible memory to have then for
her. The next question that we've got down was to ask you what your favourite race is, but I'm guessing you've got a favourite right there for different reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And last year was the first time I couldn't run it because I was injured. So it was hard to pull out of it. But at the same time, I went to mile 8 and I stood there for a few hours to see people coming through. And the amount of people that would shout, call my name, and and just say they were thinking of Alana and thinking of me and all that, and that alone itself was just felt so much more than actually going in to run it myself. And I was coaching a couple of lads that were running it too. One fella, he was running for the very first time, and I seen him coming in to the finish line, and that was it was incredible to see and feel that, like, so. Not just running it and still being a part of it it's absolutely amazing. So yeah, it would be I always said that it's a race that I'll always do, obviously until I got injured, but it's a race that I'll always be there for regardless.
That's amazing. When Alana had passed and you carried on running, before we get onto the backyard ultra chat, did you go straight into backyard ultras, or did you do any other events, distances, even like 10Ks, halves, ultra? Where did you go from there to the backyards?
So yeah, with Alana, I would have done 5, 10, halves and a marathon, one marathon. The plan was to do a bit more with her, but unfortunately we didn't get that time. So I just seen there was a race Dublin to Belfast, and it was just like, you know, I don't know whether it was running south to north or city to city, that just really appealed for me, and I think it just took my attention, and it's something that I just said, right, this is what I want to do, and I just done my own training plan for it, just to build up the distance within a training block to get there, and you know, to do that, I was in 2019, March 2019, and to do that was incredible. You know, again, we raised a bit of money for that. For We raised it for other kids with special needs to help out their families and things like that, because the services within Ireland aren't great, and people have to fight for everything. So to be able to donate money to a family that they can buy stuff for their child with special needs is, you know, it's very heartwarming that we're in a position to do something like that. So that was my, I suppose, my driving factor behind doing Dublin to Belfast. And it probably helped that I ran well as well. It's 172 kilometers. So going from marathon distance to 172 kilometers probably wasn't ideal, but I had done a few months of training for it, like, so I was well built up for it. But I finished third. I think it was on 18 hours and 20 minutes for it, like. So you sort of go, right, I probably trained well for this one.
That's incredible. And
Yeah.
Mike, what is that in miles for the miles people?
107.
Yeah, 169 is 100 miles.
Yeah.
And then you done that. So how did you get into backyard ultras?
Again, it was just sheer chance, because I had trained for Marathon des Sables, and I was a month away from the race. I had a full training block done for it, and the race was pulled because of COVID. So there was other stuff I was looking at, and the backyard ultra just came up. I was actually booked in to do at the time of Marathon des Sables, but I didn't do it because it was too close to the race. So once that race didn't go ahead, you couldn't really get outside of Ireland. So I just said, right, I'll go back to I'll go back, and it's Florida Manor is when the first one I did, into 20, I think it was 2021. So that was the first one I did. I just said I go up to that, see how I get on, and just, you know, again, it was just complete fish out of water. Like, I hadn't a clue what I was getting into. And again, surprisingly enough, I done fairly well in that as well.
How well did you do?
I done 63 hours, a new Irish record.
On your first go?
Yeah.
Did you have enough fuel for that time, or I take it you didn't expect to run for that length of time?
I hadn't a clue what to expect, to be honest. My brother and one of my friends was with me, and then I had a couple of friends that came up as well through the time, and my brother had to ring ahead to bring more food and stuff up for me, like, because we were completely, like, hadn't a clue. Like, we didn't even have anywhere to lie down. I had there was a chair, like, I was sitting on, but I thought, like, even at 50 hours, I was like, oh, I'm done. I have enough of this. And just walking up one of the roads, and I was just going, right, I'll just get around to the finish line and then I'll just call it a day. Like, and my brother was like, just lie down for a few minutes. So I think I slept for about 8 minutes. Got up and went again. And even same again the next lap. I was like, oh, I'm sick of this, like, you know. And I said, right, I'll get around to the finish line again. And again, slept for another 8 minutes. And after that, it felt great. Just like, I could have kept going 63 hours and I was still feeling good. Like,
and after your couple of micro 8-minute naps, that was
Yeah.
it. You were absolutely fine. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how well I felt after it. Like, and even the next day, you know, like, you didn't really, when I went home that morning, like, I finished early hours of the morning, and when you go home, you think you're going to sleep, but you don't. Like, you're buzzing, and you just, you know, your sleep patterns is all over the place anyway. But yeah, you're just buzzing, like, and you start to understand what you have achieved. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I broke the national record by, I know the previous one was 49 hours, and we went to 63. So, you know, and then as you start to think, right, where is my stopping point? How far do I have to go before I will call it a day? And I was finding it hard to see that, you know, and like as Mike was saying, like we done Castle Ward then in the February, and it was like the weather was woeful. Like it was, the puddles started off really small. You could avoid them, and then you just had to go straight through them. It was so bad. Like, and I was standing on the start line at 36 hours, trying to convince Carl to keep going. Like he was saying, I'm done after this one, and I was like, sure, you only at 150 miles. If you stay for another 12 hours, you get 200-mile time. And I said, I'll stay with you. And he was like, and that's the problem right there. You'll still be here. So there was no convincing then. He pulled out then after that. Like,
slight correction on my numbers earlier. 175 is, as you said, 109 miles, and it's 160 for the 100 miles.
Yeah.
So where were we? I've taken us off track.
So after that first one, you realise you're really, really good at it. How many have you done backyard ultras from then until now?
I think I've done 5.
And what's your current record now?
89.
Wow. Did you win that one?
No, second.
Oh.
So we had set a new world record at that stage. So this was in Germany in 2022, in Retiring, Germany, small little village in Germany. It was absolutely amazing place. Like there's not a shop in the place. There was one hotel and there was one street with a few houses, and that was it. Like, you know, it was brilliant. Just out in the middle of nowhere. But yeah, in 2022, I think it was May 2022, I went there. And it was to find my breaking point. It was to find how far I can go. And I knew there was people going to it that were up to putting in big hours. And I was like, right, can I mix up with the best in the world as such at the time? Yeah, and there was, you know, the hours sort of fly by, like, you know, like they just sort of, the first day sort of ticks on, and then the days start to run into each other, like night and just day just becomes all a blur, like. But then it ended up there was only 5 of us left, and you're sort of going, oh Jesus, like how far can I actually go here? And I was starting to come up to my own record at that stage, and I was still feeling fairly good, and I started to run with Mori, who's a Japanese runner. He's phenomenal. Like he does some mad ultra marathons. We started to run with him, and I think he had done 74, 75 hours in bigs previous to that. And like obviously there was no conversation because he can't speak a word of English, and my Japanese wouldn't be the best. So we just sort of run together, and we get to a certain point, and we just sort of touch hands, and I'd go walking off up the hill, and he'd just be a bit slower. And that happened a lot. Then on about 73 or 74 hours, he just came up to me at the start line. He says, I'm finished. Now, there was only 3 of us left at this stage. So I was shocked, to be honest. And I didn't know, it was hard to go, you know, just how I felt about it, because when you spend so much time with somebody, they're nearly like you know, that person that was there all the time is now not there anymore to nearly get you through a part of the race. But then also it's taken in that, right, you're one of 2 people now in this race. At the same time, the world record at the time was 85 hours. It was 85. So we were 10 hours away from the world record at that stage. I'd already broken my own Irish record, and then it was how far I could push it out from then on. But it got really fucking dark at times. Really, really dark, when the hallucinations start kicking in and things like that. And, you know, like people saying, like, I didn't bring my phone, I wasn't listening to music or anything. Like, I only listened probably about 2 or 3 hours. But thoughts start coming into your head, you know, if I get lost up here, I start saying to my crew and all, like, it's like, if I get lost up there, don't come looking for me. And I don't remember this, but they said it to me after that, like, you know, I started to say things like this, and it must have been something that was playing on my mind, that I'm going to go up here and I'm going to not come back, like, do you know what I mean? So it's mad, the things that go through your head, like.
Since you got to your 49, has there anybody in Ireland that has gone anywhere near your like breaking 49?
89.
Well, no, when you pass the 49, now you've got to 89. Is there anybody done anything in between 49 and 89?
So well, there was 3 other people at the time when we done 63. But in Tennessee 2 years ago, so GV is a Filipino, but he's an Irish resident now. But I think he done 81 in Tennessee. But at that time he was running for the Philippines. But I think he's now running for Ireland. So he's potentially would be the one to challenge it. Other than that, the next to that would be probably the first race I done, which was 61, I think, was the closest to that since then.
And you mentioned Tennessee there. I'm taking it going to Biggs. What was that like?
It's amazing. You know, when you're watching all the YouTube stuff, you're watching it on, I think it's on Netflix and things like that. And when you're actually there, meeting lads, looking at the race, it's mad. It's crazy. You really have to pinch yourself and go, like, you know, you're at the World Championships, you're racing for your country, you're among these incredible ultra runners who have done the same, if not more than I have done. Do you know what I mean? And now you have to sort of compete against these as such. You know, backyard, like, you're not really competing up until you get to the last few, but you know, you're in the corral with these amazing runners, and it's like, right, what can I do here?
And do you think having Laz and all the other runners, do you think that puts more pressure on you to stay in the race?
I don't think there's anything on the planet that will put more pressure on me than I put on myself. None whatsoever. So I went there on probably not to train a block I would have liked to do. I had a few injuries coming up to that. I was trying to train, and then I'd have to just ease back a bit and then start again and ease back. So Tennessee probably didn't go as well as I wanted to, but I was still happy with how far I got. And it was the first time I ever stopped in the race and went, you know, I'm actually happy with how I done there. I did still have a lot of questions as to what happened. My energy levels went. I just couldn't move. I was sort of falling into hedges. I was just completely out of it. Like, so I had timed out on the 75th lap. I didn't make it back on 75. But you know, I rang my coach. I said it to him, and he says, "Keith, I was surprised you even got that far." He said, "With the amount of training that you had done, the preparation we'd done," he says, "you know, it was to get that far was a feat in itself." Like, so I had to take a lot from that, but at the same time, was still, you know, it's still lingering there that I want to go back and I want to do better. Like, I want to hit the 100. That's my main aim, is to hit the 100 hours. I won't get back to bigs now for this year, because I'm only getting back from surgery. I had surgery on my knee, so just trying to get recovered for that. It's a slow process, so I just won't have time. I was hoping to go to Dead Cow Gully in, I think it's April or May. So I was hoping to go to that, qualify, and then get into bigs for October. But unfortunately, that's not the way it's lined out for me.
So, as someone that's never done a backyard ultra, where would you advise, if someone like myself was to get into it, which I'm pretty certain I will after speaking to yourself, and Mike is choking to get me into one. I would have no idea where to start. So, like, you know, pacing, fueling, there's so many factors to think about. I think the first thing I would think about would even be pace. So would you recommend like running to 47, 50, 52? What would be an ideal? Because it's very strategical, isn't it?
It is. And the other thing about it is that there's no set elevation for a backyard ultra. So some of the Australian ones and some of the Belgian ones are flat, completely flat. Now, they obviously cause their own issues as well. In Ireland, there's majority of them are probably 120, 130 meters. There's some of them down at 250 meters. So you have such an array of that. So you need to sort of pick the race that is going to suit you first, whether you want to go flat, whether you want to go a bit of elevation, or whether you want to go all in and go 250 meters per loop. Obviously, the more elevation, the less time that people are going to be out there. The shorter the race is going to be. So yeah, it's just getting time on your feet and getting used to power walking uphill. If you build a lot of leg strength, that's half the battle. Again, at the same time, it's when you're out for that length of time that you're eating, you're getting fuel in, you're starting to figure out what food works for you. Within the backyard, you're going to eat more solid food because you're going to have a lot of time to do that. It's not like when you're in a marathon, you're on at a faster pace where gels are going to do it for you, because within backyard, you're not burning enough glycogen to be taking gels. So you need to be sort of mixing up between sweet and savory foods. High carb food is what you want to be eating, rather than sugar.
And one tip that I did get from you was your secret sauce.
Almond fingers.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, 30 grams of carbs in one small finger, and that with a cup of tea at 2 a.m. is the nicest thing ever.
I just have it with a cup of tea, just sitting watching Netflix because you told me to try it.
So that's exactly what they say about it. It's up to the individual. You have to try it beforehand, because I'm allergic to almonds and I don't like tea.
Yeah, don't take them. So.
Well, do you do the simulations as well? If you had an athlete that said, I'm going to do a backyard, do you get them actually practicing it for a set length of time?
Yeah, and I do it myself. Like I remember when I was training before I went to Germany. So there's a place near me. It's called the Hill of Tara. It's an iconic place, but within Ireland, where the High Kings of Ireland live. But there's a 3.4 kilometer route around, and it's 60 meters of elevation per lap. So I do 2 laps of that. So it's basically on a field. It's black dark. So I do 2 laps of that every hour. So I could do it in like 45 minutes. And I'd sit in my car then for 10 minutes, eating food, drinking, contemplating life. And you just go back out again, head torch on, and go again. Now there's sheep on the field. So the sheep start moving. Like the first time I went up, all I seen was all these eyes moving all over the place. I was like, what the fuck is that? And when you got closer, it's like just sheep. So it's like, oh, grand. But every time I ran around, they sort of start running everywhere. And then after a few hours, they just stopped moving. So it was grand. Like, do you know what I mean? I wasn't wary of getting hit by a sheep. But my brother came up to me, and he had a sandwich and he had a cup of tea. And he just stood there looking at me going, what are you doing? I was like, so I'm training for a race. Like, I'm doing backyard ultra. Like, I'm training for this big race. And he was like, yeah, I understand that, but like 3 o'clock in the morning, like, what are you doing? So I think he thought I was losing my mind. Do you know what I mean? But I was trying to explain to him, like, when you have these big goals and these, you have to do outside of the norm of what other people do. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I try to train unconventionally with putting myself through a lot of, I suppose, completely out of my comfort zone. Like running around the field in the black dark with a head torch used to freak the life out of me. You know what I mean? So all you can see is literally what the head torch show you and nothing else. And you're sort of thinking, going, geez, there could be people in that hedge there that are going to come out and whatever. I don't know. Your head just takes over. But then someone said to me, going, do you know, if there was someone in that hedge or in them trees there, and they're looking at you at this time in the morning out running, do you not think they're going to be more freaked out about you rather than you are them? And it's like, that's probably a good point.
And that's a couple of times that you've mentioned your brother. Does he crew you on all of your events?
He would have crewed me on a few, yeah. My older brother, yeah. He's he obviously thinks I'm nuts, but at the same time, he wants me to do well. He's very protective, but he's good at it as well. Do you know what I mean? He knows me. He says I give out to him during it, but I don't. I know I don't. No, I'm not cranky at all.
Do you have any other crew that you want to shout out?
Not really. Just my brother and my friends really come up to crew me. Yeah, but look, it's hard to get people to crew you because you don't know how long you're going to be there for. You don't like asking people to take time off work. It's people taking away from their lives And I suppose you probably need to have 2 or 3 people to come up, and if you're away from home, it's harder again. If you're going abroad, it's even harder again. So when I was meant to be going to Dead Cow Gully this year, there's actually a guy over there, he's Irish as well, and he messaged me and he says, like, I can stay in his house. He had crew for me. Like, he was all in on this, like, that we were going to get the world record. Do you know what I mean? So something like that is incredible. Like, do you know what I mean? To have that the other side of the world, someone is there going, come on over. You can stay in my house for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever you want. We have crew for you. Anything you want is there. You know, it was just incredible to chat to him, to Casso, and just, you know, have that conversation about, you know, the goal that we both had. So I think it's when you have somebody that has the same view on your goals as you have, it's, you know, it's special person. Like.
And you said that you were doing your simulation runs where you get out of the car at whatever time in the morning after sitting down, but you've done 8 in 9 hours. How do you convince yourself that you're going to do another yard?
Within training, just in general.
In both.
So within training, it's a case of, right, if I can do it here, I can do it in a race where there's loads of people. You know, there's no fear of me sitting down and going, oh, I'm just going to sit in the car and just do you know what I mean? So if I can do it here, I can do it there. When I'm in the race, it's a case of I didn't train for that many hours just to sit here and let it go by. So there's the different contrasts of training and racing. It's just a different mindset, but with the same thing of getting to that start line at the top of every hour to go again.
And do you have your own sleep strategy? Like, you know, you're going to go for quite a while. Like, say, for instance, your first 24 hours. Do you say on, like, hour 18, say, I'm going to go for a quick nap, or do you just play by feel?
I think if you're looking to go far, you need to start trying to get your sleep in early. So what I normally try to do is coming into the night part. So just before that, when it's starting to get dark, you try to put your head down. But it's very, very hard because there's so much going on. There's so many people still there. You only could be maximum like 12 hours into the race. So there's still a lot of people there. There's a lot of buzz around the place. But once you lie down, you try to just rest and get going again. But as you go into night 2, night 3, there's no issue sleeping. None whatsoever. You just go in, take your shoes off, whatever bottles you're carrying, you give them to whoever's crewing for you, and you just lie down and just gone. 5 minutes sleep. And what I do as well, so I just tell them, look, 5 minutes, and they'll wake me up. Once they wake me up, I get up straight away. I don't just lie there and just, give me a minute. It's like I get up straight away. I'll sit on the chair and I'll chat to them and we'll have a laugh. Do you know what I mean? We'll try to get a bit of crack going because, you know, being out on the course, especially when it gets down to a few people, it stretches out. So a lot of that hour, that loop, you're on your own. So to have people, your crew there for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, just chatting to you, just trying to lift your spirits, especially at all hours of the morning, like, you know, that's what you need to get back around.
And your crew sounds really important to choose who's coming with you, as you say, because you're relying on them.
Absolutely. Like when I was in Tennessee, Annabelle crewed for me when we were in Tennessee. So I hadn't met Annabelle before that, and I was meant to go in 2022, but because of COVID, obviously it didn't go ahead. So she had contacted me to say if I wanted crew, she was able to crew for me. Now, she was in Michigan, so she had an 8-hour drive down to Tennessee. So when it was going ahead then in 23, I messaged her and I just said, look, there's no stress. I'll give you first refusal. If you want to do it, I'd love to have you. If you can't do it, I understand. And she said she wanted to do it. So she came down. She had everything. Like, I mean, everything. I didn't. I had to bring back all, like. So we just done a bit of a shop. And, you know, we were talking on the phone and things like that. But we were a couple of days before that, you know, we started to bond as, you know, friends. And it was just amazing then to have her there crewing for me. And we're still friends this day. She's come over here. I've gone over to meet her in England when she comes over. about all our family and that, and I think you create that bond together that, you've experienced something that, you're the only two people that have experienced what we've experienced in our own camp. Everyone has their own separate experiences, but within ours, and the laugh and the joking that we had through the night, through the days, it was incredible. Like, so I was so grateful to have her there, and for her to be the person that she is, to get me as far as 74 hours, which, as I said, like even Marcus, my coach, wasn't expecting me to go to.
Yeah. Do you want to shout out who coaches the coach? Who is Mark?
Marcus Smith. So Marcus is inner fight in Dubai. So I first came across Marcus when I was looking to do Martin de Sable. One of the guys here said to me, like, he trains people for it all the time. So no better person to go to than somebody who does it all the time. Like, so contacted him, and he says to me, he says, I was saying to him, I want to run a sub 3 hour marathon, just in 2019 as well. And I hadn't run a sub 3 hour at all. So I said, I want to run a sub 3 hour. And he says, I tell you what, come back to me when you run a sub 3 hour. And I was like, fucking prick. Like, do you know who do you think he is? So that again, just right goes, it's a challenge. It sets a challenge to me. Like, do you know what I mean? So I went down to Cork and I ran 2:58. And the minute I finished, I just fucking texted. I go, there's your fucking 3 hour marathon. So now let's get started coaching for Martin de Sable.
So going back to the backyards, few things about tactics that I would say it's personal, but you said it's okay to ask you, so we'll ask. You can refuse to answer if you don't want to. Sleep strategies. Do you plan when you're going to sleep, or do you just sleep every lap?
Only coming into the evening, I'll start trying to sleep, and then through the night, I'll try to get a bit of sleep. But generally during the day, I won't. But as I said, as it goes on, you don't really have a choice in it. If you're feeling like you're going to sleep, you just lie down, you sleep. But I try to do 5-minute sleeps and then get up before the 3 whistles, and I want to be on the start line on the 1 whistle for 1 minute to go.
And the opposite of sleep, how do you stay awake for the lap? Do you use caffeine or anything else?
Yeah, so I take caffeine tablets. They're only 50 milligrams, but like, you'd be swallowing them. But it's a case of like, you're falling asleep when you're running as well. At one stage I was walking up a hill. This was all hours of the morning, and I was walking up the hill, and I remember I was falling asleep, and it was sort of, you're veering off to the side, but I was talking away, and I turned to talk to the person I was talking, and there was nobody there. And it's like, Jesus. So you just have to acknowledge things like that, and you just go, right, I'm falling asleep, I'm hallucinating. So you just sort of walk on up the hill. But even in bigs, so the night loop is like, it's an out and back, and there's like there's about 3 turns, and you can see head torches for as far as the race is. But you start to see people veering off to the side, and you're just going, oh, they're falling asleep.
The recommended daily caffeine intake is, I think it's 400 milligrams, but the recommended not to run for 89 hours without sleep. How much caffeine do you take in a day when you're doing a backyard?
I have no idea. I don't even keep track of that. It's just like, I could have a cup of tea, I could have a cup of coffee, I could just, when I'm feeling tired, I'll just take caffeine tablets. But I don't really, I have Tailwind as well, which would have caffeine in it. So through the night, I'd normally drink that because it's easier to take liquid carbs in through the night, because your body doesn't want to take like big foods at night. So you try to do little food, but more liquid carbs. And then through the day, you try to get your carbs in, but you're never going to get as many carbohydrate in as you're burning. Like when I done in Germany, when I done 8-9 hours, I lost 5 kilos in weight. I don't have 5 kilos to lose, but I was like, it was horrific. Like, I gone really, really skinny. But it's mad when you look at the start of the race to the end of the race, how much you lose in nearly 4 days of running.
And when you have your sleeps and your rest and you kick those shoes off, do you have a shoe rotation? How do you look after your feet for that length of time?
Yeah, so I had 2 pairs of runners and I swapped them every 8 hours. My socks, I do the same thing. Now the only thing is sometimes when you feel a blister when you're on the loop, you get back, you completely forget all about it. It's only when you put your shoes back on, you're back out in the course again. It's like, oh shit, that blister. So that could happen 3 or 4 times in a row until it gets really, really bad. Like at one stage, my heel had 3 blisters on it, and it was like my heel was coming off. So they burst all the blisters, and then we patched it up. But one of the lads was a foreign lad, and he came over and he had some cream. I hadn't a clue what it was, and he had it in his hand. He just started rubbing it onto my feet, and I was like, "Going, I wouldn't go near them, but walk away." But it's amazing what people do within that setting of a backyard. It's like all hygiene goes out the window. Like, do you know what I mean? They're just in. They'll help you out. Other crews help each other. So it's that unity of all the crews and everything within the race. Like, and I think that's what sets ultra runners and crews and all that apart from any other sport. It's the whole camaraderie and the people that are there want you to do well for you, like, do you know what I mean, and nothing else.
I think maybe famous within the sort of running scene is you're not allowed to double dip. I think certain creams, you dip it there and then you put it on, and then, as you say, hygiene goes out the window.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Another question we had was pacing. Do you want to come in at a certain time, and how do you make sure that you do that if you do? Do you go at a pace? Do you have markers where you have to be? How do you do it?
Yeah, I struggle with the mindset of going over 50 minutes, and I think that was to my detriment within Germany. That if I come in over 50 minutes, I nearly start to panic. So I like to come in around 46, 47. I think it gives me enough time to do whatever I need to do. Get a rest, get food on, have a chat with people. Yeah, so I think when I was in Germany, I think my average time was 46 minutes. And that's about 100 meters of elevation.
And afterwards, when you've gone home and you've won the race, if you hear a whistle, do you get PTSD?
No, I don't get PTSD. No, not at all. I see. Like some people would. Like I've heard of people like blowing whistles or putting a whistle on their phone to wake them up. And like, oh my god, like that'd be just no. Like even training. I won't even go to sleep in training. I'd sit in the car and just look out the window, like, and eat food and just get back out and go again. Now, like, if it's lashing rain, it's obviously that bit harder to get that mindset to get back out again. But, as I say to any lads, it's like, if you can do it in shit weather, you can do it anytime. Do you know what I mean? And instead, when there's other people around, there's crews around, there's other runners around, that makes it so much easier again to get out there to do it again.
And when you have unfortunately said, right, I've had enough, and somebody else has won the race, do you regret it?
Germany, yeah. That was the biggest one for me, like, because it was the first time I stopped. We had broke the world record. I was second in the world, and I was devastated. And it's a terrible way to be, like, because, how many people in the world would love to be in that position? And I feel, and even to this day, I still feel I had a moment of weakness, and I turned back because I don't think I was in that bad a state. Now, look, that's okay saying it now. Hindsight, in that race, I could barely breathe. I was barely eating food because I had blisters on my tongue, my throat. Yeah, at that point in time, I was fucking dying. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was like I was on death's door. But yeah, I still regret that turning back at that time. I still think I had 100 hours in me in that race. If I had have expressed how I was feeling to my crew at the time, I think I would have got to the 100 hours. The whole thing about I'm going to get lost up the mountains was playing on my mind. Yeah, there was a lot of things that was in my head that I wasn't expressing, and I think communication with whoever's crewing with you at them times is vital, because within the backyard you're going to have points in the race where you have dips that could last 3, 5, 8, 10 hours, but you have to be confident that it's going to come back again, and it does. It normally does full circle. You know, you're going to feel shit for 5 or 10 hours, but when it comes back around, you'd feel great again for another 5 or 6 or 8 hours. So you just have to be confident that is going to happen. And I think in Germany, I didn't even think of that at the time. And I think I just had a moment of weakness, and I just turned back. And even when I turned back, when I came back through the finish line, I knew I'd made a wrong choice.
And you say that was when you made the wrong choice. Has there been any other times that you've made the same choice and stopped? How soon afterwards is it, as you say, on the finish line and you were, nah, I should have kept on going, or is it the next day?
So the only other one I stopped in was Tennessee, and I timed out on the 75th lap. I was struggling for a couple of hours. I wanted to get to daylight, which I did, and then 2 hours after that, like, the humidity was insane. The heat, it was all just affecting. I was losing so much salt. I was getting a lot of chafing, and as we were saying there, like, you know, all hygiene goes out the window. Like, at times, like when you start off and you're chafing, you're covering yourself with a towel, you're washing yourself. From that point, it was like I came in, trousers off, just washing it down, putting on stuff just to stop the chafing, like, and I was in agony. So I was losing an awful lot of salt, and you could feel it on your face and everything. And I just wasn't able to get it back, and that's, I think, my energy levels just were gone. When I finished that, I was devastated because I came in. I didn't come in, and I cut across the loop, and I just went straight into the tent. I didn't even come back around to the finish line. But there was cameras there, and one of the camera fellas seen me, and he started shouting. I was like, "Oh, fuck's sake!" So I went in to our tent, and I was lying on the bed, and they came in with the camera, and I was just like, I just got up then and went out to the start line, went out. I spoke to Laz. He patted me on the shoulder, and I tell you, it's one of the worst pats on the shoulder you'll ever get, but one of the most humbling. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, well done, but you didn't. You know, you had a bad lap, and that was it. But it was an absolutely amazing experience to be there. And I think it was only when I sort of took myself away from that, went back to the house, got something to eat, got a bit of a rest, was still watching it on TV. Like, you know, it was mad because we were there only a few hours earlier. But I think it just set in that I was happy with how much I'd gone. I don't think I could have done a whole pile more than what I did. So to have that feeling alone was really good, considering the time I stopped before that in Germany, it was horrific. Like, so to have that feeling of being content and being happy with how far I'd gone was good. Yeah.
To round up this section of the interview of the backyards, unless Mike has any more.
Well, I've got more questions.
I was going to ask, have you got 3 quick-fire tips for anybody new?
No, you're not. I'm going to butt in here. This is a homage to David Patterson on the Backyard Ultra podcast. Have you got 3 backyard ultra running tips?
Have I? Oh God, put me on the spot now. I think, like, you need to train unconventionally to go far in the backyard ultra. You know, training is a massive part of it. Being out for hours on your own is a massive part of it. Not even listening to music, listening to getting in tune with your own body, of how far you can actually go. Don't quit in the chair. Always get out to the start line and go as far as you can. Myself and Annabelle made a pact that it was her job to get me to the start line, my job to get to the start line, back to the finish line again. So that, like I said, that worked really, really well. So get someone in your crew that has the same aspirations of your goals as you have.
And
I think
my
that's
last, it's good enough. My last question before I let Nikki move us on is, you might not know the answer. Back in October, we had the World Team Championships, and the All-Irish team had to stop their race because of the weather. I think it was a wind had made the
over
National
certain,
Trust.
Yeah,
so they had to stop the race, abandon it. I was under the impression that they were going to do a race later on to decide who won the ticket to Biggs. Do you know what happened with that?
I have no idea. I know there's a lot of controversy around it because they knew this was going to happen before the race even started. They would not move the race from where it was. And a couple of lads had actually stopped an hour or two before that because they knew the race was going to be stopped. So the race was supposed to go ahead, supposed to start again from that point. But we're only the lads that were left. So the people that actually pulled out because it was going to be stopped, was like, so why would I go another loop when I know it's going to be stopped? They weren't going to be allowed back into it again. So I know there was a lot of controversy around it, but I don't know where it's at or what's happening. It's quite possibly not going to go ahead. Like, I don't know if there will be an Irish participant there in October.
Unfortunate for the people that had trained to get that far, but
absolutely,
yeah, what happens, I guess.
Yeah, like I was coaching a fella that was on it, and he said like he was out there to go his furthest and got to that point, and he was really, really pissed off. Like, so I think he's just said, I've enough of that. Like, you know, but like this is backyard running, because it doesn't matter what race you go to, you still don't know how long it's going to go for. Like, it could still go for 10 hours. You could win it at 10 hours. You could still be there 48 hours later. You could be there 60. Like, that is the beauty of backyard. We just have no idea how long you're going to be there for. So you have to be prepared to go home after 10 or go home after 50.
I think you have to be prepared to prepare for the unexpected.
Yeah.
And that's just unexpected.
Exactly. I think that's why it comes down to the whole mindset of backyard, you know, because, you know, if you go in with a mindset that, right, grand, I get this done in 48 hours, you know, you could be setting yourself up for failure. So it is building that mindset of, I'm just taking it one hour at a time, one loop at a time, and that's it. And just be prepared to be there as long as next person, however long that takes.
Right, Nikki, now you might move on.
So the next question that we've got is, really excitingly, recently, you joined forces with Wild Heart Runners Coaching. How did that all come about?
So I would have met Kaz at the same race we were at. Mike was in Castle Ward. Now at that time I didn't really know Kaz, but she contacted Marcus, my coach, because she wanted to do the women's UK record, which he did. And she was messaging me at the time. And then since then, we've just got on really well. She came over here then to do that race over here. And I went up to give her a hand, just help Scott and that crew for her. And, you know, I was doing a bit of coaching. I knew her and Debbie had started the Wild Heart Runners coaching. And just, you know, just as conversations go on, and she just said, look, would you be interested in help us out? We have a waiting list. I was looking to take on more people. And, you know, she said, look, would you be interested in coming in? I said, yeah, like having the expertise of herself and Debbie is fantastic. And even to have people to bounce ideas off and chat to about things, you know, because I believe that, you know, just because you've done it doesn't mean it's going to make you a good coach. I think, you know, trying to pass on what I've done onto someone else, you know, it doesn't work like that. You know, it doesn't give you the thing to you know, oh, I know everything about it, because I absolutely don't. And I still do courses. I'd have a lot of imposter syndrome around it as well. Like, who am I to be telling people what to be doing, or how to train to do things like this? But I think it's about building confidence, and instead having Debbie and Kaz there as well to run things by, have a chat about, it's all very positive. So yeah, really, really happy with the decision I made, and hopefully going forward. I'm actually over in Scotland. I'm going Friday, so we're going up to Glencoe on Friday. So or on Saturday morning for a few hours, and then I'm back over then on the 17th of May because we're doing a simulation backyard, and then I'll be doing a presentation as well after that. So that's 17th of May.
I think all three of us will be there on the 17th of May. So if any big podcast fans want to meet us, then we'll all be there.
Yeah.
Right. The next question was about running achievements. What would you say that your biggest running achievement is?
Like, I suppose the expectation would be, being second in the world at one stage, but it's not. To run a marathon, pushing my daughter, you're part of a very, very, very low percentage of people that ever get the chance to do that. And I think to be able to do that, and that was something that started me on this journey of where I am now. I would never have started running if Alana was never in my life. It was a thing that came up because we were fundraising. And to be able to do that was absolutely incredible. Like, and I'd give nothing more than to be able to do that again, is to push her in a marathon again.
And that leads on nicely to the next question as to why do you run? Is that still your why?
100%. Yeah, like, running saved my life. From was the start of Alana passing away. There's visions in your mind that you'll never get out. But running has helped me to be able to process a lot of what has happened in my life. To process a lot of feelings and thoughts that I have. Like, when you're a father of a child that passed away, you feel like you failed, and it took me a long time to get over that. That you let her down. So yeah, running has been, I suppose, the catalyst to get me to that point. And when you're you're starting to achieve a lot as well, it helps with all that you're on the right path, and you're doing something you love. And I was injured there. I haven't raced in a year and a half, and I'm only getting back running now. And I sort of starting to understand why I love running so much. Because when you're not running, things can get on top of you a lot more than they normally would. Granted, you'd be in the gym and things like that, but it's just, I don't feel it the same when you're out running. Like, it's, you're out in the air, you're sort of, you're just enjoying it. You're just enjoying it, and it just makes things a hell of a lot easier in life, I think.
And a question that I get asked quite a lot is, what do you think about when you're running? And I don't just mean racing, training. You interpret that how you will.
Yeah. So I try not to get caught up in, say, work stuff. And I spoke to people on this before. Like, people go out, so say they go out running, and they start thinking about family life, work life, and you're going, that's not what you're out there for. You're out there to try and move all that aside, and it's time for yourself. It's time to process your own thoughts. It's time to process your own feelings. And your head can take over a hell of a lot of times and make things a hell of a lot worse than what they actually are. So if you can take that time and run, like I've run without headphones now as well, so that you can actually experience that feeling within your body. And I think once you can start to experience the feelings and start to name what feelings are coming up for you, that is going to help you heal anything that's going on inside you, and things that are coming up for you. And I think if we were able to look inward a lot more, we'd probably stop reacting a hell of a lot more to things that come up in life.
And as we discussed earlier, you've already been to Tennessee, which sounds like the backyard ultra runner's dream. Is there any more dream races on your bucket list?
I would love to do the Barkley. Yeah, I would love to do it. Now, there's only a few ways that you can get into it, and winning in the backyard in Tennessee would have been one way to get in, you know, but unfortunately I wasn't there long enough to do that. So yeah, the dream race would be to do the Barclay, but to do it justice as well, and not just go to make up numbers either. Do you know what I mean? But it'd have to be prepared. I'd have to do a hell of a lot of training, navigational stuff and things like that. And one of the guys here in Ireland, he has done it, and he's an extremely good mountaineer. And we spoke when we were in Verona. We were over for the 24-hour European Championships, and we were talking, and he was just saying to me, like, you know, if you ever think of doing it, he'll help me to prepare for it. So I probably will take him up on that offer at some stage.
In case anybody missed it, our previous guest was John Kelly, who has just done the fun run, only person to get that far. So you got big, or he's quite small shoes to step into.
It's just getting tougher now every year, isn't it? After 5 finishing last year, I'd say it was a tough one this year. Like, yep, especially when you see what John only got to the fun run, and that was knowing what everyone else got to round 2.
Yep. Next question is, it can be a difficult question, but I think we possibly already know the answer. If there's anybody alive or not, fictional or not, that you would like to run with, who would it be?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it'd have to be with my daughter, Alana. You know, there's so many great memories with her out running around the Phoenix Park training, out in Dublin City Marathon route. And even now, like when I work in Dublin and you sort of drive onto part of the route, you know, it brings back some incredible memories of that day. She was so happy when we were out running, and she'd normally just fall asleep anyway. But, you know, it was just that settling feeling and that sort of bond that we had together. That sort of would have brought us a hell of a lot closer. So yeah, it'd be just to be able to get out and push my daughter again and running chair would be amazing. Yeah.
And to round things up for the interview, what is next for you running wise?
So I'm trying to get back running now. So I had a tear in my meniscus. So I had surgery in January, and it's still niggling a little bit now. I'm trying to get back. I'm doing bits and pieces. So what am I doing? I'm doing Dingle Marathon in September, doing Dublin Marathon in October. I'm hoping to do a 24-hour on New Year's Eve into New Year's Day. So they do it here in Ireland as well. And then next year, I hope to do the Irish National Championships in the 24-hour. I want to get back. I want to try and qualify to run for Ireland again, the 24-hour. So I need to sort of get my distance up on that and go over the distance that I have in 24-hour will be the aim.
I think, as Nikki said, that brings us to a close, and I'm just going to say thank you, Keith, for joining us. Thank you, Nikki, for being Nikki, and it's goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me. Thanks, Keith.
Thanks very much. Thanks for asking me on. It's a real pleasure to chat to you.